Luise. Luise is the Chief Strategy Officer at Immutable Insight, which is a Munich-based investment company. And Luise will share with us how we can actually use blockchain technology for sustainability. And this is actually a topic that is super dear to my heart. So I feel very grateful that Luise takes the time to run us through some perspectives on what might our future entail. Thanks a lot, and thank you, Steffi, too.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Yip, for having me here. I mean, our story goes back, I think, 1.5 years when I was actually a former DLT talent of the Frankfurt School. So now I think back then I was still at my former employer, so at UBS, an investment bank. Now I'm here having a speech as a Chief Strategy Officer of Immutable Insight about sustainability. So yeah, thank you so much, Yip, for the invite. So to everyone, welcome to my popcorn session about how can blockchain accelerate sustainability. For me, it's quite a personal goal to make blockchain understandable for everyone, and also that everyone can see how or what the impact is of this technology with regards to sustainability. So now let's kick it off with the first picture. What can you see here on this picture? This picture actually shows the impact of climate change. So climate change is maybe the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges my generation and also our century has to encounter. And when we go back to history, 16 of the 17 warmest years on record happened since 2001, with 2016 the warmest year ever. And what you can see here in this picture is the impact and the challenge we have to solve. And this is not after a storm in Africa. This is actually what you can see here after the severe storms and floods we encountered during the summer in Germany. Actually, this picture was taken in Ahrweiler, which was actually one of the cities who had the highest impact of the severe floods and storms. So maybe now you think, okay, well, Luise, nice, but what does this have to do with blockchain? I mean, shall I talk about climate change or what this is about? Because I mean, usually when you think about blockchain, you think about Bitcoin and you think about the massive energy consumption of Bitcoin, which are often compared to the energy consumption of huge countries or smaller countries such as the Philippines or even Sweden. But now maybe think further. What if there are blockchains out there which have a less energy footprint or energy consumption footprint than the Bitcoin? What if there are blockchains out there which actually have a 99% less energy consumption and even have further additional capabilities in comparison to the Bitcoin network? And if you think about our legacy system, so if you think about the traditional banking industry, the gold industry, you can actually say that blockchains are more energy efficient than these industries and then these industries, and that there are blockchains out there with a less energy consumption than the Bitcoin network. What you can see in these pictures is Satari. And Satari was originally a refugees camp. So this refugees camp was built because of the war in Syria. Many people had to flee their home country and had the goal to arrive in Europe, and even some in Germany. I think we all remember this in 2018 and 2019. And by now, Satari has become the 4th largest city in north of Jordan. So imagine that. And when you listen to a lot of interviews actually to people who made it to Europe, they said that the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenge, was actually to keep their passports, to keep their identities. Besides, of course, staying alive, but without a passport, without an ID, you're nothing. And actually, when you think now about the sustainability goals of the United Nations, they said that we should aim to provide a legal identity to all and to everyone. And again here, what could have been a solution, or what could have been? A solution could be that we have our identities on chain, on the blockchain, which is immutable, which is transparent, and nobody really has access to change these identities because it's on chain, right? And when you add these even with mobile or even with biometrics, such as our iris scan, it can be a solution to a paper-based passport and a paper-based ID card. So people will not lose their identity anymore. Another picture. This picture was taken roughly 32 years ago. And again, it happened in Germany. As a consequence of the World War II, East and West Germany fall apart, right? With even two completely different political orientations. So there was the East Germany with a more Soviet Union political orientation, and then there was the West with a more democratic. But all in all, because of this war, many people and German citizens had to flee from the Russians and had to leave also their home country and made it actually maybe to the West. And with that, actually, many families lost their property. And then the Soviet Union took over, and until now, you do not really know where your property were, and you do not really have access to it. And all this, also the Soviet Union, also the Russian, could do that because they had actually power over the centralized land registry, and they had also power over the population there. And I mean, now you maybe think, okay, so Luise, this is a long time ago, but I mean, adapt the situation to even other countries. It's still happening, and we still are in a centralized community, or in a centralized country, and still it doesn't matter which regime could take over, still people can lose their property. So again here, what could be a solution? Blockchains enables the power of decentralization. So this technology can also give us back the authority over our own country, over our own property. So with a decentralized and also distributed land registry on chain across many nodes of computers and countries, no regime and no authority really has access over this. So now you might say, okay, why did you tell all these? Why did you show us these three pictures? And for me, actually, these three pictures stand for the three letters. So the three letters of ESG. And I've shown you now how, and this is actually only one example to all of these three letters. We can maybe have a later conversation. There are many more. But I've shown you now three examples how blockchain can accelerate sustainability and also can achieve the sustainability goals, what has been published by the United Nations. So I have shown you how the proof of stake blockchains or even proof of history blockchains can help to reduce climate change and also reduce the carbon footprint. I have shown you a social aspect. So how a blockchain-based maybe digital identity can support the social aspect of ESG. And then with the example of the Berlin Wall and also the East and West situation in Germany, I've shown you an example what could happen if, and also the power of centralization, and as a solution, the power of decentralization. So we own not only our identity, but we own also our property. So for me, actually, as I mentioned at the beginning, for me, blockchain accelerates sustainability and helps us really achieve our goals, and also to make our planet a better place and support it. And for me as a person, I want to lead in a sustainable way, and I want to be in an industry with what you can still change and shape, grow, and also support to actually achieve these goals. So I open up here. You can also see my contacts below. So maybe if you afterwards want to reach out, I'm happy to talk about it. But now I open it up for conversation.
Hey, Luise. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think what would be very, very interesting for the participants also to hear is your story, you know, how you entered into Web3. What is so fascinating about it? Yeah. Have you regretted making the move? Or what do you think will the future hold for us?
I will start from the back. So many of my friends, they always ask me, oh, Luise, why did you change your well-paid investment banking job and enter this industry? So, and for me, it's actually what I've just mentioned in the end. It's actually that you have an impact, and you are every day, you're beginning your day with a purpose, because you can still change something, you can shape, you can grow as a leader, and also, come up also with your own ideas. So for me, whether I've regretted, no. And my way to blockchain was actually by coincidence. It was when I was back at Deutsche Bank, when I was an intern. I think it was 2015 or 16. I had an internship there, and on the big trading floor, and there was when you are an intern in this industry, you're kind of a little bit intimidated, and you just look around, and you're fascinated by all of these smart investment bankers. And then suddenly a managing director crossed my desk and reached out to me and said, "Are you girl? You were a millennial, right?" I said, "Oh, wow, he's talking to me. Yes, I am." And then he told me, I read something about blockchain and Bitcoin. And can you please make a presentation in front of the whole floor, in bracket, like 100 people or something, about this technology? And it was Friday even. So I was like, okay. Oh, and can you maybe do it on Monday? So this was actually the first time I got in contact with Bitcoin and blockchain. So I spent the weekend trying to research about this technology. There weren't so many. I still remember there was one article, I think from New York Times or something, so, or even two. So, but it wasn't, I mean, when you now enter Google and it's like a blockchain, you receive written papers by, I don't know, well-known universities such as INSEAD or the Frankfurt School of Finance. And back then it was kind of, I don't know, a challenge. So then I did that presentation, and everyone on this Monday morning was looking at me like, okay, what is she talking about? And then the MD just said, okay, Luise, fine. I think this technology won't stay with us that long. So, and now we are here in 2021, and it's still there. So this was kind of my first interaction with Bitcoin. And then after that, as I said, I joined the DLTTalents program. I did some research on my own, some investments on my own, and then this is kind of how I entered this industry.
And what has been your insights so far, you know, dealing really on the grounds with the people who are building this new industry? It's quite an emergent industry, right? So there might be a few things that are not so well developed yet, and a few things that might be a bit more progressive than what you've known before in investment banking. Can you share a few of your insights and your learnings?
Yeah, sure. So the biggest learning, or what I really love about this industry, is you support each other, right? It doesn't matter really, also for me, how long you are in this field, but you can reach out almost to everyone and everybody, and you jump on a call and you share insights, and people share their network. People say, okay, come on, have a look here. Do you attend this conference? Do you want to join? And what are your thoughts? So this industry is very, very supportive, and I think it's still required because it's you build it still from scratch, kind of. I mean, it's now more developed than in 2014 or 15 or even before, but now it's. But I think that's this is what I really, really love about the community and also the industry. I mean, because it's new. I mean, now when you think about even sustainability, and think about also the regulation there. And if you want to, for example, structure a product which is in line with Article 9 or something with ESG, it's kind of still complex to really adapt the laws which aren't even finished yet for the traditional financial world, and adapt it to crypto, because it takes more than 5 years until the regulation and EU and all, they figured it out. Okay, there's also crypto. So for me, this is sometimes a little bit challenging with regards to sustainability.
So now we have a question from the audience, and this is asking you about what actually does Immutable Insight offer or provide? And maybe for me, a follow-up question towards that is, what does a chief strategy officer at such a company do?
Yeah, everything. Oh, just so Immutable Insight was founded 2 years ago, 2.5 years, yes, by Katharina Gera and Volker Winterer. This company has started as a blockchain analytics company only. So they offered anti-money laundering insights based on blockchain to other companies. And out of that, they have launched their first blockchain fund, so Blockchain Fund 2, 1 year ago, where the company invested for family offices and institutional investors into token and cryptocurrencies. But the USP again is that we do analytics on chains, because the great thing about Bitcoin, about blockchain, is that you have everything on chain. So every transaction, I mean, everything. And out of that, you can adapt specific analytics, and you can also see, for example, money laundering patterns. You can see also, which coin maybe in the future will grow, or increase in value. So again, our USP, and this is also how our companies build up. We have more than half of the people are in our science team. So in our science team, who are developing algorithms, who are dealing with all the insights, with the analytics on chain. So since now the first launch of the Blockchain Fund 1, which has been closed also in the end of last year, we launched now 3 other financial products. Again, one fund, Blockchain Fund 2, again, investing in token cryptocurrencies, and with our partners, 2 certificates. And one of them is the so-called Sustain Liquid. And Sustain Liquid is more or less a staking fund or a staking certificate. And there we exclude Bitcoin. We only invest in sustainable blockchains and in the infrastructure of sustainable blockchains. And this is actually one pillar of the company, so the whole financial products. And now we're building up also the other one, which is industrial expertise, where we consult different companies with regards to blockchain projects. Is there another question in the chat?
One of the questions I have is, you've been connecting and liaising with a lot of, I would say influential people who are shaping society, or actually economy, right? You've been to conferences, for example, the Blockchains conference recently. What are typically the topics that people in the industry are currently talking about that you might not really read in the press, in particular, not when you don't follow crypto industry kind of research papers and so on?
Yes, first thought was NFTs. No, you read that so much in the press, in the media. But actually, yes, and I would actually, my first thought was NFT, and then what I was quite surprised doing also the blockchains workshop, which I led with also some other partners of this industry, was that a lot of people are still interested in the whole pre-token sales. So this is something what the majority of the conversation was about. Well, what I was quite surprised, because we all remember the ICO boom, and but this was kind of surprising to me. I mean, we as a company, so Immutable Insight doesn't really offer it, and we do not invest in the early stage pre-token sales. But yes, I was quite surprised by that.
Can you maybe explain what's the difference, between a product that's pre-sale token and then a product that is investable for a fund like yours, so that we can get a little bit of a bird's eye perspective on the ecosystem?
Yeah, so our fund invests only in tokens which are already tradable on the chain, right? Or on the stock exchange, for example. And also with regards to the cryptocurrencies, we also only invest in Bitcoin in Ether. But I mean, again, we as a fund, we see us more, when you compare it to the traditional finance world, as a value investor, right? We want to identify undervalued tokens, but we think that they will increase in value again, or will do it in the future. But we are not early stage. So there are some funds out there who are only doing pre-token sale, so who are only investing into tokens pre-market, so pre-stock exchange. And I think in order to do that, you have to be really careful, because for me, and this was actually why that I was really wondered about that some of my colleagues were doing that. They just said, you identify great ideas and you will go in the community and then you will see it. But actually, when you're participating in a token sale, you're really investing into the people, because you believe that the protocol, you believe that the idea, but you believe exactly that the people who develop this, the idea or the protocol will accelerate. So this is kind of a different approach. We as a company, we do not do it, because for us, we think it's too risky. We just want to be more in a value side and identified undervalued coins and tokens, and then build up a position. But some funds do it, and some are very successful. But it depends on the risk profile of an investor. Is there another question? I just saw that.
Yeah, Paul is having a question about valuation models. Now, this is for the investment banker inside you.
I don't want it. You can get
valuation models for Bitcoin's intrinsic value. It's for all of those who are not yet in the crypto industry or familiar with it. It's quite a big challenge that people are asking. What is actually the fundamental value driving Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything that is a 3 trillion market cap as of now, speaking in December? What is your perspective on that, Luise?
Yeah. So thank you, Paul, for this question. Actually, this is a question I think is when you are coming from a traditional financial background, everything is about modeling, and everything is about DCF model and EU modeling with multiples and so on. So it's sometimes quite interesting to try to adapt this. And when you do a little bit of research, there are already people out there who are try to model Bitcoin, but with different approaches. Because when you are thinking about valuation model, for example, DCF, you cannot really do it because you do not have cash flows, right? And you do not have, even when you are adapting not cash flows, but also profits, you do not really have profits. So sometimes it's quite hard, or it's still, in my opinion, not possible to model it. But there are certainly drivers for an intrinsic value, and I think it's a combination also of more a market or chart analysis, and also about what we are doing, more or less the analytics side of it. So we believe, for example, a token or also an increase in value when the usage will increase. So this is, for example, one pattern, and then you adapt specific analytics and also criteria for yourself on this particular token, and then you are identify specific patterns. But can you do fundamental analysis? Yes, again, some funds doing it, but more, I would call it with the venture capital angle. So you are thinking about, okay, what is the team, what is the idea, what is the uniqueness, etc. So more or less this, and do they model it? I mean, how do you want to model it? But there are different opinions out there. Me, from a more traditional background, I wouldn't really model it. But there are different opinions out there.
To wrap up this question, maybe this is, how would you actually explain to people who are not in the field yet, like let's assume your grandmother, for example, who's asking, hey, how can I actually enter this market? What is easy ways to join the blockchain economy and also the investment side of it?
Yeah. Yes, I do have many people reach out to me now, and maybe not my grandma, but my friends, obviously. And again, here, it all starts from the beginning. What is your risk profile? For example, one of my friends, she reached out to me and asked me, Luise, I've never bought an ETF so far. Can you show me? And then I showed it, we looked at it, and we start from the beginning. How do you want to invest? What is your risk profile? How long is your investment period? What do you want to do with it, etc. So you really start from scratch. And this is also what I think everyone has to know, and this is also what blockchain supports, right? To take over this responsibility, to really make the work and do the homework and then invest. And nowadays, also, it just happened a few minutes ago, a friend of, Luise, I bought my first NFT and increased in value, but I still have no idea what it's about. So I think for someone who would like to enter the industry or would like to invest, first of all, do the homework, research, read, think about your risk profile, because the market is volatile. We try to hedge out the volatility and we manage the volatility as a company. But if you want to do a direct investment into crypto, you have to be aware that there are ups and downs, double digit one day. So, but still, and if you've done then your research and also maybe, okay, then you look into the different tokens and into the different coins, you then maybe should just read a protocol and think about it. Okay, is this inspiring? Do you think maybe it will happen? And then you just start investing. And you can invest, a lot of the traditional coins out there, they are traded over stock exchange. So, and this is actually quite easy. But what I think is still not easy, making the decision what to buy, but to buy, it's quite easy right now.
All right. Thank you so much for this very wonderful introduction to think also blockchain beyond just technology and speculation and profits, and to link it to sustainability for a better world. This was Luise.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us.